Hi, everyone. I am Amy V. Cooper. I am a photography business consultant and personal coach, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. I am interviewing photographer Natasha Lee, and we'll just jump right into it. Natasha, thank you so much for joining me today. Will you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in photography?
Sure. Hi, I'm Natasha. It's a bit of a long story. As with anybody's, right? I actually grew up in Malaysia. I was born there, and I always was doing art. I knew art was going to be a big part of my life. I just never ever thought it'd be my career. And even when I was a kid, I was always drawing. And then when we storytelling, like I would get these blank books and like write these stories and draw these little illustrations. And so I moved to California when I was 9. And so, obviously, there's like, we always went back to Malaysia. So travel was always also a really big part of kind of our life, like going back and forth and, like kind of cross culture, like it's like two, not double lives, but two halves of like something like I'm this person at school trying to fit in. Then
Mm-hmm.
there's like another part, when we go home and see family and, you know, all of that. So I feel like all of that has really kind of played into who I am and my work. I ended up going to art school, which was a whole story in itself. But I ended up going to Otis in Los Angeles, and I studied digital media there. I had thought about switching over to photo as a major, but I just didn't want to start all over
Mm-hmm.
once I was like a couple years in. And so I just kept taking photo electives and, I would spend a lot of time in the dark room because I could. And printing out your own photos, especially in color, when you're doing the whole color machine, like it really fine tunes your eye. Like, oh, I need 3 more points of magenta to like balance this out, or things like that. And that whole thing plays a lot in my kind of how I post process right now.
Mm.
I'm just having that kind of practice and practical. So then after school, I was, trying to do a little bit of shooting, did a little bit of everything really. Started out in production on commercials and music videos as a PA, and I knew I wanted to be behind the camera. I just couldn't try to figure out how to get there. And because I studied digital media, I kind of fell into art directing and junior designing, moving up to art directing, and eventually finally taking the full leap to do what I really wanted to do the whole time. But it really takes time to figure that out, get that clarity, um, and obviously build the portfolio.
Right. So tell us a little bit about how that background in design and art directing has helped informed your photography business.
I think that having been on the client side, I'm super clear on all the work that has to get done before the shoot even happens. I really like putting together treatments personally. I feel like that's a strong point of mine because you really get to communicate the idea, whether, like you writing like how you're going to approach it, or like, I love pulling together inspiration and like these mood boards and inspiration boards, and obviously including my own work in that, but just being super clear on the approach. I love
Mm.
doing that. And I'm super hands-on and, on the pre-production stage, on an ad job, because feel like that's so much of how the shoot is going to go smoothly. And having been on that side, I'm just really clear on how I want to communicate things, or communicate options and like looks and, all the different elements that go into it, like the wardrobe, the styling, the,
Mhm.
production design, all of that. So I feel like that has really helped me to be clear on that side of things all before getting onto set. Um, and it's been, pretty handy being able to design all my own marketing pieces.
Yes, and they are so gorgeous, and I want to talk more about that. But I have one more question about pitches. So many of my clients are interested in learning more about what makes a successful pitch. So, would you have a few top things that you would recommend to photographers for creating a successful pitch deck for a job?
Oh, like a treatment sort of
Mm-hmm,
thing?
treatment.
I think being as thorough as possible, as much information, for me, I just, as much information as you can include is really helpful. There was a job last year where I didn't get it yet. It was just the treatment stage, but we were kind of thinking through like, where could we possibly shoot this? So I started calling around to a couple of studios, seeing what was available and getting, a sense of the budget. And this particular thing at the time, we could have also used my place as an option. It was like a still life food shoot. So I included a couple options, even though this was like way before the job was awarded. So I think just putting as much information, just showing that you really thought out potential ways to execute, in
Mm-hmm.
addition to obviously how you want to approach it and execute the creative brief and how you're going to take that and make it from your, contribute what you're going to bring to the table to make that
Mm-hmm.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And you have some really beautiful print promos that you've done in the past, some really creative stuff. And I would actually encourage all of the photographers who are watching the video to go to your website and to look at the selected press area, because there are a few interviews there with you on print pieces that you've done in the past. And you have some really amazing things to say about how you approached it and how you made sure to check and see that the people you were sending it to were still there. So tell us a little bit about that. Are you still doing 1 to 3 print promos a year? What's your marketing calendar like? How many emails do you send? How many print promos do you send?
For emails, I try to do every other month, or if not every, like if, yeah, around every other month,
Mm-hmm.
or every 2, 3 months. Um, and then for print, yeah, I was trying to do between 1 and 3. 3 is ideal, but it depends also on the calendar, and obviously print promos are pricey.
Mm,
But I basically keep it really, really targeted.
mm-hmm.
I don't do that many. I don't think I've ever printed more than like 100, like of those newsprint promos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was the other question?
That was pretty much it. How often do you do it? And I suppose, other than those two things, what do you feel like has been your greatest return on investment as far as the different types of marketing that you do?
I think for me, just one-on-one email outreach. I'll just email one person at a time and introduce myself, send some work. And actually, the biggest thing I think is following up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, not the next week, but maybe a couple months later when I have either newer stuff, I'll follow up again. Or then once we've communicated, then I'll put them on my email list. I don't have a huge email list. It's more people I've already worked with or have like had correspondence with in some
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm. So targeted and being consistent, following up. That's really important.
Yeah, because I mean, there's people who I'm still trying to follow. I still have a dream list of people and I'm still
Yeah.
trying to follow up with them.
Yeah. I mean, it takes time. It
It
takes
takes
time.
so
So,
much time.
yeah. Okay. Well, so tell us, what have you been shooting in the past year? Tell us about a few of your favorite assignments.
This past year, I've been shooting a lot of editorial assignments with a few kind of social media and like campaigns and ad campaigns mixed in. I work a lot for, a lot of in-flight magazines. So last year I did several like LA-based stories for Delta. I did a shoot in Chile for Qantas, which was an amazing experience. I started shooting for Wall Street Journal a lot last year. It started out with one assignment in Palm Springs, and she just kept calling me after as for LA-based stuff, which I was really excited because you go. These are all for the mansion section, so you basically go into these amazing, beautiful homes and hang out for a couple hours and shoot.
I love it.
And then I also got to shoot at an amazing restaurant, this amazing chef for his show on Quibi. So my shots ended up being the key art for the show and on the app for the show.
That's amazing. So a lot of editorial and a few commercial shoots.
Yeah, and I'm trying to do, do be a little more aggressive with my marketing towards like ad agencies and things,
Mm,
but I feel like that definitely takes time too.
for sure. That's great. And I asked you to pull a few of your favorite images and talk about them. Do you want to share your screen and show us some of your favorites?
Sure.
Here we go.
Okay. So I'll start with this one. This one was one of the shots that I took in Chile while I was on assignment for the Qantas story. She had called me like I think several months before that on a different story, and that one ended up not happening because of the weather. Like literally at the very last minute, it was just pouring rain, so we
Mm,
didn't do it. And then this one came up, like months later. And during the whole prep, before I left, there was a lot of back and forth with the hotel, and just trying to figure out the itinerary because I only had 3 days there. And I literally checked the weather kept refreshing the weather because it's an island and they were saying that it could rain anytime and it has been raining.
mm-hmm,
So I was really, really nervous. Um, this shot was actually kind of a couple hours after I got there. It
mm-hmm,
was a super long journey. There was like 4 flights and like a drive and then a ferry and then another drive into this kind of beautiful secluded location. So I
mm-hmm.
got there basically it was actually really beautiful the afternoon that I arrived. I was super tired, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna grab my camera and we're gonna just go. So I love this shot because the sun didn't look like that for the next 2 days. And it ended up getting picked as one of the selects for the story. And to
Mhm,
me, it just kind of says so much about what editorial shooting is like. You're just constantly on your feet. You have to think quickly. You have to adapt to the circumstances
mm,
and, work with what you got and
mhm,
all of that combined. I think it's really beautiful serendipity, and I just love the feeling of the light at that
mhm.
moment. So that's why I picked
Beautiful,
that shot.
beautiful.
Should we move on?
Sure.
Okay, so this one, it was part of a content library I created for a boutique hotel in Tulum.
Mhm,
I was there for like 4 days. And to me, this is all about like when it's about creating the shot when it's not necessarily already there. We moved this table from a different part of the space.
mhm,
And I just really love the morning light and this little kind of hallway. There are a couple other alts that show the view out to the ocean. And basically kind of styled it and created kind of a scene and a moment of, what it feels like to have breakfast on that deck.
that's
Yeah.
beautiful. So you styled this yourself?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
With, some of the help of like a couple of people who work there. But
Mhm,
yeah, they helped me kind of move stuff and bring stuff in and be
mhm.
like, oh, I think we should bring another glass in or things
Ah,
like that.
beautiful. That's a pretty sweet assignment to have.
Yeah, I mean, like not pictured as I was like completely sweating because it was humid and like it was just so hot. And we had to shoot before the food started kind of, you know.
Melting, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was like August and until.
Mm, beautiful. Okay, let's see. Let's see another one.
So this one is part of that Quibi shoot. It
Mm,
happened at the very end of the shoot day. This wasn't actually on the shot list.
mhm,
On the shot list was basically all the food, like pasta making, garnishing, and then the final dishes. Those were all part of the comps that the agency had.
mhm,
And, and we actually kind of, because everything was, I'd suggested a shoot schedule like prior to onset, and we had to be very clear because we only had a certain amount of hours there before they had to start dinner at the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So everything went super smoothly. So smoothly, we basically had an hour extra at the end before they
That's
had to start
amazing.
dinner service. So the client was like, oh, well, let's do some really like epic portraits of the chef. And this is a pretty iconic wallpaper in the restaurant.
Uh-huh.
So we set it up pretty quickly and did a couple of options. Like this one was one of them, and against a different wall was another one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just love the feeling of him just sitting in this epic restaurant. Feels to me very nostalgic in a sense because of leather booths.
Uh-huh.
And I love the light on him and the fall off. And I was just super happy we were able to get that. And he was totally game to do it.
That's beautiful. I love how, he's kind of like burly, but the background is a little more feminine. That's beautiful.
Totally.
Cool. Okay.
So those were kind of, yeah, the ones I had. And I have one more if you want to go.
Sure.
One more. So this one, oh, is this the screen sharing? Oh, screen share.
Can you click in the browser window, or is it not working? If not, we can just come
oh, and
back.
this one. There we
Oh,
go.
there we go.
Um,
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
I really like the light in here, which I think I said light so many times in the last 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
To me, it just feels exactly how you'd want to feel on vacation
Mm.
in a beautiful place. This was like one of the images during an assignment for hemispheres in Tahiti. This in particular was Bora Bora.
Mm.
And basically on assignment, I'm constantly looking, constantly wandering, constantly shooting in between like all the scheduled stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we had just gotten back from something and I was wandering the grounds and, I came across this scene and to me it just captured what it felt like to be there. And that's a lot of my objective when I shoot travel is to capture what it feels like to be in that place, to show a feeling.
Uh-huh.
And with the light and what they're doing and all the trees, to me is just that holiday feeling. And
It
I
is.
love
It's
the relaxed
perfect.
vibe.
Yes, it's perfect. I love it. Thank you for sharing those.
Sure.
So tell me, you and I are speaking right now. It's at the end of May 2020. We've been in quarantine for a minute. How are things with you? Are you getting inquiries? Are people wanting to start shooting again? What does it feel like for you?
I feel like it's been a really tough couple months. There's been a whole wave of emotions. I also have a family, so it's been really, really hard
Mm,
trying to navigate that and all of the things that were in momentum prior to, everything being shut down. I haven't gotten any inquiries yet.
okay.
I'm hoping, I was talking with my agent, and I'm hoping that will change after Memorial Weekend. She's saying, it sounds like things are starting to pick up again. Just being out
Mhm.
and about, I feel like people are just driving down the street last week. There's so many "we're open" signs now,
I love
and
hearing that.
I'm taking that as a sign of optimism and hope. And
Hmm.
you know, so yeah, as of now, no inquiries. But I've also just been getting really clear on what I want to do next and how to keep moving forward. But I've also had to make peace with the fact that I didn't work for a while, and for a while, it's just being present
Hmm.
and being here
Yes.
and trying to find that balance.
Yes. So, do you want to tell us what's next for you?
I'm really wanting to build up the motion aspect of my work.
Mm,
That's what I'd like to focus on next, and
smart.
just trying to figure out how to do that just because it takes so much more resources to
Yes.
build a motion reel.
Yes. And have you been marketing yourself during the quarantine?
I guess that's the one thing I feel like I can do during this time is just stay in touch with people. Not
Hmm.
necessarily, well, I guess we met during the quarantine, so I have been meeting new people. Yeah, there's been a couple of new people I've met and chatted with, and it's nice because for a while people they're open to and they have a little bit of time that
Yes.
they might not have, when it's like production back to back. So I guess that's been kind of a silver lining. I've been listening to, podcasts on walks and things like that.
Yes,
Just
and you
to
just
stay
did,
inspired.
uh-huh. And you just did something with B&H. Are they gonna have that webinar posted for people to rewatch?
I'm not sure if they're gonna post it. It might have been a one-time thing. I met them at a photo conference I taught at earlier this year, and that's how this ended up happening. They were like, "Oh,
Oh,
do you have any
good.
ideas? Do you have anything you want to present?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And
Which
2 years ago, I
conference?
probably would have not been doing any of that.
Yeah.
I think it's just trying new things, and that saying like if you feel the fear, you do it anyway, and just iterate,
Yes.
iterate, iterate.
I love that. If it's scary, then it's probably something important. So tell me what festival was that?
It was a photo conference called Photo Native,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and it was in Santa Barbara. At the time, that was gonna be the last one, but I don't know if that has changed since.
Mm.
But I taught like a food photography workshop there, which was amazing. We did it at the hotel restaurant. We had like 10 people, and I basically walked through how it's like to shoot food on location and what to look for, like gave a little shot list, and we kind of played.
That's amazing. That sounds so fun. I was supposed to be at the Palm Springs Photo Festival this month, so it's a little sad not to be there, but hopefully it'll come back
Yeah, I think I saw they rescheduled it for fall.
for September. We'll see.
Well, if you
Um,
come through LA, let me know.
I will. I will. I love LA so much. I was there right before everything got locked down. So I was there in February, and I love going back there. So, one last question for you. What is some of the best advice that you have ever been given, either in work or in life, or what's some advice that you find yourself giving to other people?
I think one of the best things I've heard is do something every day towards your goal, even if it's small. And to me, that is really, I do actually follow that, and I keep a pretty strict schedule. Even when I'm not shooting, I'll still do like a full work day when my kid is in school. And, basically treating it like a full time job since that's what I came from. And doing, even if you don't have that day, like if you have an hour, if you send one email out or do one little thing each
Mm-hmm.
day towards what you want to do. You edit like a couple photos and then you edit more the next day. Or you start with the print promo, maybe you just put the layout on or you just put the title on there. If you do a little bit each day, then I feel like, well, one, it's less overwhelming because it's hard to do so many things in one day and still stay super focused.
Mm.
And it all adds up. When you look back over like a month or a year, you're like, oh, I did all this stuff. And maybe it was like an hour a day. Maybe it was more. But to me, just staying consistent, I think, on that theme and keep building, building, building.
That's so smart. And I can tell in your work, in the promos that you've done, I can tell that that's been, a part of you being successful. I can tell that you're successful because of that hard work, and I'm impressed. I love it. Just keep that momentum going and one foot in front of the other. That's so smart. Anything else you want to tell us? Tell us how we can find you and follow you.
My website is bynatasha.net, and then my Instagram is talk to Natasha. That's kind of really the only social that I do.
Hmm.
And yeah.
Perfect. And Natasha, your Instagram feed is gorgeous. So everyone go follow that, and I will put these
Thank you
links.
so much. And
Yes.
thank you so much for having me and just for connecting. It's just so
Yes.
nice to meet new people, even through the screen.
I know, you know, I was interviewing with our mutual friend, Tracy Tarrick, last week, and she asked me why I started doing this channel. And I was like, I don't know. I just kind of just started doing it. And then I realized later that um, it was my subconscious need for connection. So I'm so glad to be here with you and meeting you and hopefully meeting a lot more photographers through this. So thank you again. I will put those links in the notes.
Sure, thank you
And
so much.
yes,
For me.
and and for everyone watching, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and leave us a comment if you have any questions. And I will see you back here for the next recording.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Natasha.